Good evening and you're very welcome to another action-packed On the Ball here on WLR. Coming up very shortly, Michael Verney of the Irish Independent will look back at the County Senior Hurling Championship semi-finals over the weekend. It'll be Ballygunner against Passage, a local derby decider to look forward to in Walsh Park next Sunday. We'll also hear from Passage defender Noel Connors. Waterford FC manager John Sheridan following their disappointing defeat to Finn Harps at the RSC yesterday. Paul Nolan will look back at the interprovincial derby in rugby as Leinster edged out Munster over the weekend. We'll also hear from Andrew Casey, the Ballyduff Upper captain, as they were crowned intermediate divisional hurling champions last night. A thrilling victory over Clashmore Kinsale-Beg after a penalty shootout, believe it or not. All that to get through between now and 7 o'clock.
Oh, lovely 1-2 by Mahoney to Desi. Desi takes the shot. Back at the net for the Gunners there. Mikey Mahoney sent it across and Desi given that opportunity with a one-on-one. Shawnee Barry, no chance, back at the net. What a goal by Desi. Well set up by Mahoney. What can happen with this one? Goes low, goes hard. Oh, it's saved again inside. The red and white defended very well. They've got the ball. Is it had enough? And the referee blows his whistle. It's all over. 121 to 26. And Passage are back in the county final.
And yes, you're very welcome along to this evening's programme. We are going to start with Gaelic Games, and it's going to be a local derby in the County Senior Hurling Championship final on Sunday afternoon next in Welsh Park. Ballygunner and Passage, those familiar foes, going to lock horns for the News and Star Cup. Of course, the Gunners going for 7 in a row. Passage will be their opponents after their thrilling victory over Mount Sion yesterday, 26 points to 121 in Welsh Park. And to help us look back at the action, great to welcome to the programme Michael Verney, GAA correspondent with the Irish Independent. And Michael, first of all, many thanks for taking the call.
No bother at all, Gavin, great to be here.
Absolutely, pleasure to have you on. And Michael, you were one of the few, I suppose, people who were lucky enough to get into Welsh Park yesterday. A rip-roaring semi-final between Passage and Mount Sion, and in the end Passage prevailing 26 points to 121, but a game that had everything, and Passage back in the county final. Was their victory deserved from your point of view?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. It was an absolute belter of a game, Gavin. Probably the best game I've been at since things picked back up again. As you said, it had everything. Barron's spectators, it probably had everything. An early goal for Stephen Roach, and then Passage just totally took over after that first water break. I think it was 10 points to 2 up until half time, and their ability just to kind of nonchalantly almost put over points at will, you know, the likes of Mikey Cummins, Owen Connors, Killian Fitzgerald, they were just really, really clever. I thought with the breeze, they knew they could score from 8 or 90 yards out, and they did. And probably from the stand, they didn't realise how strong the breeze was until it went down at half time and had a kind of a gawk around. And they're thinking, yeah, they probably will need the 7 or 8 point advantage that they had, but they still thought they would have been not comfortable in the second half, but they definitely thought they were in control. And Austin Gleeson started getting more, and then from probably about the 40th minute onwards, having been probably fairly well tackled by Callum O'Neill up until that, and he kind of led the fight back, and a real dramatic fight back. In fairness, they were just chipping away the whole way through, and I don't know. I thought it was an ill-advised move to go for the goal from that free, the 21-yard free, when he was pulled down the 61st minute. Thought if he tapped it over, they would have got at least another 2 or 3 players, and I think they still could have possibly won the game if he tapped that ball over. I think they still could have won it in normal time. But it was probably a deserved victory for Passage. Yeah, it was brilliant because there was no crowd there, obviously. With the Passage bench were sitting just in front of me, and I might as well have had 2,000 people at the game. This was the noise which every score and every hit was greeted by. But yeah, I thought it was a really, really exciting game. Probably nobody would have thought that Passage would be winning that sort of a game. From an outsider looking in, I would have thought for Passage to win, it would be something like, 115 to 16 points or something like that. I probably didn't think maybe that they had the capability of putting up the score that they did, but they were outstanding all over the pitch. A brilliant team performance.
Absolutely, yeah. They've brought that great energy, I suppose, and enthusiasm with youngsters coming through like Mikey Cummins. Then you have Noel Connor still anchoring the defence, and as you wrote in your article on the Indo today about they're under the stewardship of Kilkenny legend former goalkeeper Michael Welch, who has instilled this great belief and hunger in them, and he really got great pride and I suppose passion in that victory as well yesterday.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, it was like a Kilkenny win. It was like when he was playing, or a win for the Kilkenny 21s when he was over, a win for Westmeath when he was coach of them. He was absolutely ecstatic at the end. I don't think he actually could believe it, and he said as much to us afterwards. He didn't really think it would happen like this. Maybe definitely not a couple of weeks ago anyway. And he kind of said that earlier on in the year maybe they were going more. They'd lads away. I think Killian Fitzgerald has come back. Tommy Connors, who came on yesterday, I think that was his first game to play any part in And I think they were saying they won an under-19B last year, and it seems to be a good few those lads bedded in. There's more in the squad, and yeah, they were brilliant. It's amazing when a kind of a small, as Noel said, after a small kind of a fishing village, everybody knows each other. After getting a bit of momentum now, they probably weren't expected to beat Rome. They weren't expected to beat Mount Sion, even though I think they've been a bogey team for Mount Sion in recent years. But just a brilliant performance. Once they get their heads up like that, and to get the dander up, they're hard beaten. Now they're facing an unenviable task in the final, but that was a brilliant game yesterday. Brilliant from everything, like, to a man, I'd say. Everybody delivers something, and to be honest with you, I've never seen anything like the performance of John Whitty coming in. He came in as a blood sub in the 40th minute, had a pint got, went back off when Paul Sling came back on from his blood injury, came back on as an official sub a minute later, had a pint got within a minute, then scored another pint maybe within 6 or 7 minutes of that, and then even he was holding up the ball in the corner at the end, doing flicks over lads' heads, trying to keep the ball in the corner like a soccer tactic we'd see. I've never seen the like of it before. It was one of those great kind of super sub performances, and it kind of summed up what Passage brought to the table yesterday. Everybody that was on the field, and even lads in the line, and that they all delivered something. They all brought something to the party for it was a really special result and a special performance from them.
It certainly was. Yeah, they certainly love their hurling out there, and will take huge confidence, I suppose, going into the final next weekend, which we'll touch on in a minute. You mentioned the long range scores from Passage, and Liam Flynn with another 5 points yesterday. He's been hugely influential in all their games so far. 17 points to 1-6. It was a healthy enough position for Passage, Michael, to be in at half time, particularly as you say, the turnover after that first water break. They really drove it on, picked one another out, and as you say, very accurate as well with their long range shooting.
Yeah, there was no panicking at all. They knew they could score from distance, and it was Austin Gleeson's point in the second half from probably about 30 yards inside his own half that it showed just the strength of that breeze. Passage are really, really smart. There was no panic whatsoever. They hit ball into Liam Flynn when they thought it was on, and a big player actually for them as well. But he was an absolute nuisance, and he didn't get on the score sheet at all. He was an absolute nuisance. Every ball that went near him, he got on the ball. He was fouled 3 or 4 times as well. As you said, Liam Flynn was outstanding too. But their ability just to hit a 40 or 50 yard crossfield ball to the likes of Jason Oates or Killian Fitzgerald, I thought they were really, really cool. They're very, very smart. They played a completely different brand then in the second half. They were more working the ball in when they had to against the breeze, but I thought they were really, really smart with the breeze, and it was that second quarter really that probably won the game for them, where they outscored them 10-2.
Absolutely, indeed. And as you say, look, it's a bitter pill for Mount Sion to swallow. They had a huge win against De La Salle the previous week, and Austin Gleeson did come to life in the second half, as you say, and we know what he can do, I suppose, when he performs. And they lost Michael Gaffney, unfortunately, through injury, but they'll be really disappointed, I suppose, not to have gotten over the line. I suppose, Michael, they'll see this maybe as an opportunity missed.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been following the Westford Championship quite closely too, and Glenbarn Town beat St. Martin's in the quarter-final. St. Martin's, who were the favourites to win it all out, and then they went down in the semi-final. Almost, I don't know, a big win like that can sometimes create a bit of pressure or a bit of expectation, and I don't know whether the Mount Sion beating De La Salle had kind of the same effect, where they were kind of, unexpected kind of coming into that De La Salle game. De La Salle were probably the team that were being touted, if anyone was going to take Ballygunner down, that they would. Mount Sion knocked them out with a brilliant team performance, and then just maybe showed up a bit flat. It was really only the last 20 minutes that they really, really got going yesterday. I think they'll definitely see it as an opportunity miss. That's a couple of times now in recent years that Passage have just kind of undone them into the big quarter-finals or semi-finals. And they'll definitely see it as a chance missed. Like Passage, it's, as I said, it isn't an enviable task in the final, and Michael Walsh kind of said it was mission impossible. Tongue-in-cheek, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, somewhat not. But Mount Sion would still have loved to be there and face the city rivals in the final. But definitely see it as a missed opportunity. You could see how crestfallen the likes of Austin Gleeson and a few more were after the game, because I'm sure they were confident coming into this game, but just didn't deliver the same sort of performances they did against De La Salle. And you really have to get your game against the likes of Passage, because in order to beat them, you're going to have to outwork them and outfight them, and they just weren't able to do that yesterday.
And certainly Passage brought that to the table indeed. Just briefly touching then, Michael, on Saturday night, before we look ahead to the final on Sunday, Ballygunner 225, Lismore 110. Desi Hutchinson, I suppose, shooting the lights out, 2-8 from play, an unbelievable performance. And Ballygunner, I suppose, just maintaining that proud tradition, and their movement and their fluency, and the level of scoring as well was hugely impressive. I was in there on Saturday night, and you couldn't but be impressed again by Ballygunner and the way they went about their business.
Yeah, they go about their business very professionally. In fairness, like Lismore are always going to be up against it. Lismore are the sort of team that when they're winning games like this, and even it was the same in the quarter final and some of the group games, it's a 6-17 to 4-18 style game. It has to be a really, really high scoring game. But they were never going to be able to put a score like that against Ballygunner. They always looked like they were going to shoot the score like that. Just from chatting to a few people that were at the game, and they were probably a bit naive with maybe the way they tried to tackle Desi, just tackling him one-on-one, and maybe probably should have dropped back a man, maybe just to try and keep themselves in the game a bit more. I know maybe some people can kind of see it as a defeatist tactic, but when you have a lad like that that's absolutely on fire, he scored 2-7 from play in the first half. Like you just have to take special arrangements just to try and curb his threat, and they didn't, and they really suffered as a result. And I believe Morris was in full forward for most of the first half and was kind of starved the possession. Like, if you know, like without being smart, if Desi Hutchinson scored 2-7 from play in the first half, there's 9 cookouts anyway we're going to have to take. I'd be putting Morris out the half forward line and be putting down on top of him, at least have him have some sort of chance to have an influence in the game. Inside, he didn't. With Philip Matney probably sleeping in front of me, he was never going to have a great influence on the game. So Lismore might have been a bit naive, particularly playing against a side like Ballygunner. But Ballygunner, yeah, just really professional outfit. They do exactly what they have to do, and they're, if they can win a game by 10 or 15 points, they'll win by 20 points.
Absolutely, yeah, hugely confident then going into the final, which we'll touch on, I suppose, Michael, to do a wrapping at Ballygunner Passage. Of course, very close rivals there. They know each other well. They've had some great battles, I suppose, at underage level as well over the last couple of seasons. Well documented, of course. Ballygunner going for 7 in a row. Passage have to go back to 2013, of course, that late show where they deprived the Gunners of the county title that day, and Ballygunner will enter this game, there's no point in saying other words, as strong favourites, and they will be odds on to make it 7 in a row on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to make too much money if you were back in Ballygunner on Sunday. I'd probably something like 1-8 or 1-10. I would imagine, being honest with you.
Probably.
You go back. Passage were the last Water team. They were the last Water team to beat them in that final, and they've gone an unbeaten run of 37 games in their local championship since. I think they beat them already in the group stages as well.
That's right. Yes, you're correct. Yeah.
They're going to be really up against it. While yesterday's game was hugely entertaining, I would say there was probably like a dark quality. Maybe they didn't come up against anything like they're going to go up against in the county final. Everything will have to go right again for Passage on Sunday. It's probably hard. It's probably hard to see that even physically. Like Ballygunner will raise stakes. Something shocking. Like some of the Passage players, albeit very, very talented players, probably even not as physically well built maybe as some of the Ballygunner lads, definitely not as well seasoned. They're going to find it hard to get by. Philip Matney will probably drop in front of Liam Flynn as well. They'll probably try and negate his influence. They'll probably maybe do it in such a way that they're going to have to bombard him a high ball, and I'd imagine Barry Coughlin will probably pick him up and will try and spoil him, and Philip Matney will pick up the breaks. It's going to have to be the game I described, that Passage. The typical game, the Passage would be winning the 1-15, to 16 points, that sort of a game. That's going to have to be the type of game, I think, if Passage are going to win the county final. I don't think they can't afford to have Desi Hutchinson or Taurus Manny putting up a big tally. I just can't see them winning a high scoring game against Ballygunner. Ballygunner just have too many scoring options.
It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Indeed, it will be our George Corbett Skoda big match on a Sunday afternoon. Coverage getting underway at 1:45 from Welsh Park as Ballygunner and Passage will battle it out for the News and Star Cup. Michael Verney, really appreciate you taking our call this evening, and we'll chat to you again very soon, hopefully.
No bother, Gavin. Thanks very much.
Thanks indeed to Michael Verney for that particular piece. We're going to hear now, before the ad break, from a Passage defender, former Waterford hurler Noel Connors, who spoke to our own Tomas McCarthy and indeed Michael Verney after the full-time whistle in Welsh Park yesterday, saying it was a very proud moment and another special victory for the Passage Hurling Club.
That's amazing. Do you know what? It's a complete reset. It's really enjoyable, and I suppose it's just the format in which it's been played at now. You know, as I said there, that you can't really kind of you could buy matches like this because it's week in and week out, so it's really, really enjoyable. You kind of get to a stage where you just want to have a clear kind of schedule where you know you're going to be playing, and in fairness, the county board here had their fixtures out very, very quick, and everybody knew where they were playing. So once the county hurling final is over, the football is on straight away. So I think from a club player's perspective, it's absolutely amazing, and not to be controversial, but long may it last.
Is this one of the biggest wins you've had with the club? No, because you were written off, I suppose, at the start of the year. You know, I suppose that coming into the Tallow game, even the start of the year, that was a real 50-50 game. But yet, here you are now in the county final.
Yeah, I suppose it's, as players, you probably don't pay too much attention to it. Now, that's probably not to sound arrogant or ignorant about it, but you just don't. You know, you just kind of get on with it, and you go out and train, and it just becomes a cycle of life where you just go in with the lads and just train as hard as you can. And you know, it's nothing new, I suppose, coming from Passage. They're always underdogs regardless of who you're playing. I suppose that the comment at the start of the year was lucky to get out at the group stages, but we didn't even think about that. We knew that we had a good group of young lads here that will definitely put their shoulder to the wheel. A small few old fellas still left on the panel, and we just drove it on. We just drove it on for the couple of weeks that we had pre-season, and we got our head together and we just drove on as one. And look, we're really enjoying it. We're really enjoying our hurling. There's no pressure on us, and I suppose that's just Passage hurling, isn't it, really?
No, sorry, you just were chatting to lads in the circle there after. You know what's waiting for you next week as well, though, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think anyone in Waterford or beyond is under any illusions that Ballygunner will be vast favourites. I suppose most people know I don't watch too many GAA matches, but Ballygunner, I suppose, threw up a cricket score against Lismore, and to be honest, Lismore, if you look at Lismore's team, they're very, very impressive. So that's kind of the standard that they're at, and they have been over the last 10 plus years, and you can even see the underage and coming the whole way through. They have 3 or 4 teams at adult level, and they're all performing and competing. Look, we're going to be massive underdogs again, but look, we're in the county final, and where else would you want to be?
We love Waterford. We are WLR.